Okay. He actually dropped out, so hopefully he'll be back on. I was hearing, now that he's gone, that light hoot 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 noise is gone too, so I'm thinking that's in his background noise. We'll see. Hopefully I can edit that out. Hey again.
Whoops.
Just FYI, we have started the broadcast and I'm starting the stream, just so that everyone knows. And okay. Hey everyone, this is OotiniCast episode 365 being recorded on July 2nd, 2019. And I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to get going here as soon as we can. We're starting a little later. We have a first-time guest, which is always exciting. We're working out a few technical kinks, but it should work out just fine. And let's see, Intisar, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, and you got your water?
Yes, I did.
Cool. Yeah, I've got my water. And is everyone ready to go?
I still have some coffee left, so we'll be good.
Okay.
Let me
All
turn
right.
off the volume on my phone.
I'm going to go ahead and tweet out that we're going. And for this course, this is the raw version of the show that with all its faults and flaws and whatever. And then we clean it up, edit it, and that goes out of the as a podcast, usually on the next day.
Faults and flaws, chill. Come on.
Yeah.
Can you get Darren DePaul to re-record my parts?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Only if you say nothing but Utini Rage a bunch of times. All right. Twitch.tv/ All right. Tweeted it out. I guess I might as well retweet it. And then we're going to get going. Okay. Is the Mark, is the fan that you have on oscillating?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to turn it off then?
Maybe try it, because normally a fan noise is so steady that it's not an issue, but right now I'm hearing like a sort of thing.
Oh, it's probably because like I'm blocking it as I move around. I'll turn it off. I'll be right back.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm so excited for this.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, actually, it's a lot better. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope it doesn't get too hot where you are then, because I assume you have it on for a reason.
Yeah, well, it's 82. It's Boston. It's not too bad.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Cool,
geez,
cool.
It's like 112 right now in Phoenix.
Oh man, is that where you? Oh, it's 112 where you are?
I had 115 on my thermometer in my vehicle yesterday.
Oh, that is so rough, man. 115.
Yeah, but it's like
Oh,
oven
I can
temp-
barely hear Doc
like,
now.
There's no humidity, so it's just straight
Oh, really?
Yeah.
right out of the oven kind of heat.
It's interesting, Doc. I can hear you perfectly still. However, Intisar is saying that he's not hearing you as well. Can you hear me well, Intisar?
I leaned
Yes.
back a little bit. Sorry. Can you hear me, Intisar?
Like very faintly.
Huh.
I wonder why that would be so different for between the two of us, because I swear he sounds super loud to me.
Yeah, my lines are
Dekian-
super strong today.
Yeah, and Dekion says he can hear everyone.
Let me try reconnecting because that
Okay.
seems to fix all things.
Did you turn it on and off again?
Oh, and we should we remind him to, because I think it goes back to voice when he restarts.
Studio mode.
Yeah, we
That's
need to tell him to
probably
studio
why
mode.
he couldn't hear me as well.
Maybe it's fixing that on that end too. Antisar, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
And hi, Marcus. And I
And
didn't
I'm-
say it out loud. Hi, Dekion. And Eric.
Okay.
I can hear Doc.
Intisar, go to back to your settings, because it's going to put you on voice again and change it back to studio again,
Right.
so that it doesn't. Because usually what ends up happening is it gains everyone's mic way down a lot, and then it's like everyone's muddy, and then it gets really loud again, and it's very hard to edit when that happens. So so I'm glad that you can hear everyone though. I think we're good. All right, I think we're gonna get going then. All right, let me give going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that once won a subtropical moon in the Ocean Belt. This is episode 365, being recorded on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
Hey, Chill, should I open this loot box or navigate an asteroid field?
Is there a difference?
I'm not sure.
I think the odds are pretty much against you either way.
Oh, they're not in my favor? Wait, that's a different IP. Okay. Well, good to talk to you today, Chill.
Yeah, we have a first-time guest today, Intisar. Hey, Intisar, how you doing?
Pretty good. Hello, everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you like to do in SWTOR, how long you've been playing, how you heard about the game, all that good stuff.
I am a lifelong Star Wars fan, and I'd been playing World of Warcraft, and when I heard there was going to be a Star Wars MMO, I was so there. So I've been playing since launch. I like to do pretty much a little bit of everything. I mainly love the story, but I've been doing raiding a lot, operations, and I'd like to do stupid grindy things, as we'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay.
I love decorating. A couple years ago, I started doing a blog about the game called This Week in Arabesh, where I take signs from the game and I translate them into English.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And
do you have a favorite off the top of your head?
My favorite is a dumb little sign. It's like a little three-eyed alien.
Okay.
And it just says sail underneath. But some of the best signs are the neon signs you see on Nar Shaddaa.
Right.
There's one written
Jive music and so on.
Yes. There's one written in the ancient Sith language, and it says "good eats." And I'm like, well, what is good eats to an ancient Sith?
That is so amazing.
So maybe someone's a Food Network fan at BioWare, or was at the time.
I love this game so much more right now because you said that.
There's some really fun ones too. I can't remember all the details of them, but there's one the Heroic 2 in Black Hole on Corellia, and you go inside the Heroic 2 and you like look at the left side, and there's a sign. It has a really long message, and I once translated it, and it was kind of funny. It's like, wow,
Yeah,
they spent a lot of time doing that.
The hypermatter signs, yeah. It's like it makes running the Kessel Run look like a cakewalk or something. Like
Yes, that's right. That's exactly. It's good stuff. Awesome. All right. And what have you been doing lately in the game?
Lately, I've been doing a lot of operations. I've been raiding with the Brad Feeling Podcast Porg team. I've been helping out Marcus from the Working Class Nerds.
We love Marcus.
Just last week, I did a 16-man explosive conflict veteran mode, sorry.
Nice.
And that was an adventure.
Oh man, it was.
I see you guys did much better on 8-man on Sunday, so all's well that ends well.
Right.
Excellent. All right. Well, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to you more a little bit in Doc's segment. But Doc, go ahead. And what you been up to in game?
Well, I've really been trying to organize the goals I have and work on them. So I'm on 2 raid teams right now. I guess I'm on 3 raid teams, according to the show notes. Like I don't even know. I'm just showing up for the ops, and I'm trying to do my sorcerer DPS. I played around a little bit with Madness just so I have that in my back pocket. But when I'm in the ops, I'm still using Lightning for my DPS spec.
Okay.
And the Porg team defeated Kephis in hard mode explosive conflict, and if anyone wants to watch a highly tense clip of how that ended, Scrubland Shad saved the day for us, killing an enraged boss as the only person left alive. So
whoa, that's hard to do.
That was pretty fun. I put a Crushing Darkness out there at the end, but I did not live to see the end of the darkness being crushed. So Scrubland Shad for the win. And then a couple days later, or maybe a week later, the Death Star Troopers team, which I'm on with Marcus, we beat Explosive Conflict, and that one was pretty clean, and there's no special videos for that. I think if you want to see how the fight played out, it's on my Twitch channel. And then the Evil Intentions team, which is the team that recruited me a few weeks ago, we have progressed through Veteran Mode Skyva and Gods from the Machine. So
nice.
There's been a lot of success feelings for me, which is not normal and very exciting. I've been leveling up my Gunslinger 2 through the command ranks. I have her at 110, somewhere in the 110 range right now, just trying to collect those last 2 classes before the expansion happens, because I'm close, and based on what Twitter's showing me, I'm a lot closer than some people are. So it just comes down to doing little things here and there with my trooper and my gunslinger to see if I can cross the finish line and have all 8 classes at 300. So that's been fun, and that's pretty much everything I've been doing in game, just trying to get better for my teams and collect achievements that are going away forever. And I want to hear what you're doing, Chill, but before that, I want to just say I'm really excited about Celebration in Anaheim. It's much easier for me to get there, so I'm planning to be there. And I'm really intrigued by the distance between Phoenix and San Diego in terms of cantinas. So that's sort of like, should I just get in my car and see if I can make that happen? I think it would be so fun to meet people who happen to be there for Comic-Con and for the SWTOR event.
Okay. So you're talking about the San Diego Comic-Con, or are you talking about next year's Celebration?
Over there that's in like
there is,
really
but you said the but you mentioned a Celebration, which is different.
Right. So I am going to be at Celebration in 2020 in Anaheim. But I'm looking at my calendar and saying, I might be able to get over to San Diego in a couple weeks. So if anybody wants to make me decide either way, maybe just say it would be so cool to hang out, and then there would be people involved in this decision instead of just driving time. But that's something I'm really excited to be part of the community. I love the opportunity to meet people that I've played with and make them have that human identity. I think that's one of the coolest things that MMOs can do.
I've been to one cantina, and it was great fun.
Yeah.
Definitely go if you can. All
right. Well, there we go. One human being has started convincing me to just do it. So thanks, Intisar. And Chill, who's with us today in the chat?
All right. Well, at this rather still somewhat unusual time, we're sort of getting used to this as being the regular schedule.
This is the time, Chill.
This is now the time, yes. We have Keish Bear. Dekion, so our guild leader, is here. Eric4678, Japeo, Hen Sohai, Joby Essen, KJSMLD, VNK, Virgo Praz, and Marcus is here as Working Class Nerds 17. Hey, Marcus. And hey, everyone. All right. I've been just focusing on getting my last of the base mirror classes to 300 so I can have the maximum CXP boost, which is supposed to roll over to Renown when Onslaught comes. So that's going well. It's a Sentinel DPS spec. It's good. I've got T7 with me, keeping me company. It's somewhat slow going at this point, because I'm in the 200s, so it's kind of sort of the home stretch, but there's still like 50 or so levels to go. So got probably more than a week. I would hope that I can get it done before the next show for sure, but it's probably going to be at least a week before I get it done, and then I'll have at least all the base classes done. I I don't know if I even want to try to get to all eight to 300 before September. I guess that could be a goal, because I think I have both Trooper and Mercenary, so I think that one's already duplicated, and then I have the other 3 bases. I will have the other 3 bases, and then I'd have to get the other 3 on the other side. I don't know. We'll see.
It's all about staying organized, Chill. Like, if you make one of them light side and one of them dark side, and you do some story mode ops and burn the packs depending on which side of the force is victorious.
Yeah, that helps. That definitely helps.
Yeah, you can do it if you want to.
All right. Well, we'll see.
We can have some special OotiniCast heroic grinds. And,
oh my gosh, yeah.
and we can make it happen.
Maybe so. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see about that. But for now, let's get on to the tips of the week, and we actually have 3 of them this time. Pretty exciting. We got duck sauce, and then ducky, and then let's see. What was the other? I think it was actually 2 from Ducky. So duck sauce, ducky, and ducky. So we've got a lot of duck tips this week.
Wait, that's confusing for people who may be drawn to the idea that they're all the same kind of duck.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. The first one's from Duck Sauce. Thought I'd send in a tip of the week entry. Currently, people can use companion gifts to increase influence and level of their companion. But did you know there's a quicker and more efficient way to do this? Simply head to the fleet and look for a droid called, Victory, V1CT0RY. You can trade 3 dark projects and 4.25 million credits to him and receive an item called Commander's Compendium. Simply bring out the companion you wish to level, lower the better, and it will insta-pop it to level 50. This is a great method for instant popping your lower level companions to 50 to improve their critical rate and time efficiency on missions and crafts, as well as support your companion the support your companion provides in objectives and missions. So there you go. Yeah, it's there. I mean, I guess you'd have to do the math. Like, okay, if I'm doing this many gifts, and maybe it's also how much time it takes to actually give all those gifts. Yeah, 4.25 million credits and 3 dark projects. I don't know what the current market price is on dark projects, but I think that's in the million-ish level as well, or maybe multi-millions. I can't remember for sure. So yeah.
So is it efficient to buy that then? I
don't think so. Not in credit-wise. I think it's time efficient though. Well, it's definitely time efficient.
Is it like 500 level 5 purple gifts with love, affection would give you a level 50? Or is it like 440 or something like that?
It's something like that, but yeah, I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head.
I think it is cheaper to use the purple gifts, but this is obviously much faster.
Right. And boy, so much faster. And of course, I guess you're also saving yourself from having to buy the companion gift speed up too. Which, if you do all 3 of those, is over 1 million by itself.
But if you're going to level up multiple companions, then purchasing the upgrade to your speed is potentially a better gain than 4 million credits per companion.
Right.
It all depends how valuable your time is, I think.
Right.
This is a really thought-provoking tip. We should probably move on before we get stuck here, but my gears are turning over what we're talking about right now.
Right. Well, I'm sure they did some, math when they came up with this object, in the game. They probably thought, okay, well, we know they can buy them from the vendors. They can buy gifts from the vendors, so it should probably be more than that since it's so efficient in time and so on. But yeah. Okay, now we're moving on. Tip 2 from Ducky. Hey, quick tip. Having trouble viewing your Nar Shaddaa tokens in your currency tab? No problem. Collapse the gear upgrades and the special items tab, and you'll get to see everything that's being cut off in the events tab. Have fun at the casino tables. Yeah, it's true that I've noticed that too when I did the Nar Shaddaa event, that the tokens do tend to get cut off because there's just enough other stuff there that they do get cut off. So collapse the gear upgrades and special items tab, and then you'll see it. Good stuff. Thank you, Ducky. And third tip, also from Ducky. Here are some tips to help you maximize your credits in the Nightlife event. And the Nightlife event is live now, and it will be going in through July 30th. 1. Don't buy Kingpin chips. 10 Smuggler chips will usually yield 1 or more Kingpin chips. 1 Kingpin costs 75,000, while 10 Smuggler chips cost 20,000. 2. Only use your Kingpin chips when you have the Feelin' Lucky buff. Absolutely. Yeah, it's the one that looks like a hut. I always look for that buff. 3. Save up at least 10 Kingpin chips before using them. That way you can use multiple machines until you see the buff go away. And let's see, I don't think he... Okay, yeah. He kind of only hints at it, but if you're doing the Kingpin buff, if you're going to get any kind of jackpot, it's going to make the buff go away. But actually, the buff goes away instantly while the machine is still going diddly 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 doo 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 doo, and then ba either goes boo or goes ba 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 and gives you the a win, or the really big ba ba ba, and then you get the jackpot. If you're getting any kind of what it considers a jackpot, which is basically anything other than just like the token back, then the buff will immediately go away well before you can actually hear the machine give it to you. So if you're running multiple machines, you can actually, the buff will go away and you should stop there before you put in any more tokens, and then go back to the regular one and get your buff back before you continue. So anyway, there we go. So moving on with the actual tip that was given. 3, don't forget to do the daily mission that is available near the vendors. The mission takes about a minute and gives a Kingpin token. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just go between... It's a macro binocular quest. If you go between the 2 ramps, you can pretty much hit all of the possible spots from there. And that way you don't have to move around. You can just do it from one area. 4, if you are also... It actually said 4 and I said 3. 4, if you're also wanting to do some content that can have long queue times, play the slots while you wait. I got 50 solo ranked points while going through 1 million credits worth of Smuggler tokens. Wow. Okay. And 5, have a video playing on another device. Endlessly clicking away tokens gets old really fast. Watching a video is an easy way to enjoy your time. And 6, position yourself so you can use 2 slot machines without moving. Yes, that's kind of true, but actually I have a better one for you. I do use two slot machines when I'm doing the Kingpins, but if you're doing the regular smuggler token machines, what I do is I position my camera. I actually go, like, I sneak in between 4 machines, and I put the camera so I'm above them and I'm looking down on myself and on the 4 machines. Hear the door. You can actually, like, click one, click the other, then back up a tiny bit, click the one behind you, click the other one behind you, move forward a tiny bit, and you can actually get 4 going instead of 2. And pretty much while you do that circle, by the time you get done with that circle, the first one will be available again. Now you got to find a shard on Nar Shaddaa where, not all the machines are really busy, because, then you're getting in people's way, or maybe people are getting in your way, or however you want to call it. But that is a way to actually use 4 machines rather than 2, and it's even more efficient. So I would use that. Finally, this Nightlife event also rewards Cartel Market certificates, which I think are really cool. You can use these at vendors on the fleet in the Cartel Bazaar, which is they're next to the hut. They sell some awesome Cartel Market items for credits plus certificates. Unfortunately, most of these items you need to have high enough Cartel Market rep. Fortunately, there's an easy way to get this rep besides buying a ton of Cartel packs. In our Republic side guild ship, we have a slot machine that will give you Cartel Market rep items. To use it, buy the tokens from the vendor that is standing next to it and spin away. So yeah, Utini Knights, if you're in Utini Knights, Utini Rage, Utini Knights has that, and probably a lot of the bigger guilds will have this item as well. It's a special slot machine, so it's pretty cool. And I hope you find some of these tips useful. So thank you, Ducky. And by random allotment, the winner is Ducky. Well, he had a 2/3 chance, didn't he? So congratulations, Ducky. You're the winner of a Ton Fawn or M83R Droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast provided Cartel Market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And that will bring us to the Jedi Mind Trap. Doc?
All right, before I get started, I think it's so great that you mentioned the chance of Ducky winning on this episode while announcing that
That's funny, yeah.
Ducky won. Just things like that bring joy to my life. So before we talk about the Twitter poll today, I want to just set the stage for what got me thinking about this. And I'm always thinking about this because of what I do professionally, but I try to leave it on the sidelines and just focus on operations and the gear grind, because that's really what pulls me into SWTOR. But we had a story break that involved EA a couple weeks ago, testifying in the UK about loot boxes and saying that they don't have loot boxes, they are surprise mechanics. And I actually had several people in the community alert me to this story. I already knew about the story, but they alerted me and wanted to know what I thought, and they shared what they thought. And the consensus is that it's basically tomato, and that we have this nice thing we do in our minds called defense mechanisms, where sometimes we'll call something a thing that sounds slightly different, and that helps us sleep better at night. Whereas what we're saying is these loot boxes are a way to involve RNG in our game, connect with the player's currency as our consumer, and help us to receive said currency and give them a surprise mechanic that entices them to continue playing. And one thing that makes me really proud to be part of the SWTOR community and be somehow associated with this game as a player is I really like the ways that RNG is used throughout the game as a way that's not just a cash grab. Although there are loot boxes, there's hyper crates, and there are ways for us to spend our money in the game. There are also elements of the game that are the same as loot box mechanics, but it asks us to spend our time and our investment in the game in terms of things other than dollars and cents. So one of the things that really caught my attention this week, since I've been thinking about that story the entire time, is Inquisitors, as our guest today, posted a huge moment of success with something he's been working on in the game that also heavily involves the randomness of item acquisition. So Inquisitor, can you update us on what I'm talking about, and just talk about what you had to go through to assemble your collection here?
Sure. So when you complete a heroic at max level, you get an alliance supply crate. And if you've completed chapter 9, I think, of the Katafi story, you can go to your base and talk to the alliance specialist there, and you can trade it in with some influence with them, and then they give you back a box which has some random stuff in it. It's got a companion gift, some credits, and a piece of legacy armor. And these are old tier sets that we can't get anymore. And there are, I think there's 5 sets for each class. So there's 40 different sets, and each set has 7 pieces. So that is 280 pieces. Actually, it's 281 because one of the sets has a duplicate. There's a hood up and a hood down version.
Oh.
And just this morning, I got the last piece of the last set. So I have all of them now.
That's amazing.
And I have been working on this off and on since Katafi, so 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Goodness gracious, that's a lot.
That's a long time.
That's a lot of doing heroics and everything else.
And I don't like heroics. I think they are like the worst sort of MMO gameplay. It's like click on a quest, you go there, you kill the mobs, you move on to the next one. There's no story, there's no interaction, there's no flow through the zone. It's just, but they're good for conquest sometimes, and they're good for leveling, getting CXP. So I do them every once in a while. So I'd accumulated a lot of crates, and I kept a checklist. So every time I got something new, I would check something off. And once I got close, I was like, all right, am I going to do this? I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Nice.
So I spent the last 2 weeks only doing alien supply crates for Dr. Ogurub. And so I was just running them nonstop, and finally got the last piece this morning. And I won't lie, I threw my hands up and I was like, oh yeah!
Right, yeah.
Which piece was it?
It was the Remnant Resurrected Inquisitors belt.
That whole set is so hard to get.
I want to think that there's an even chance for any piece from the box, but I think the Resurrected sets are a little trickier to get.
Huh.
Yeah, I had my own personal goal that exact set, I wanted all 7 pieces as my raid gear, and it took a very long time to get the it was either the boots or the pants. It just took forever, and that actually made it so I stopped working on what you've been working on, because I had a spreadsheet, and I was keeping track of all of it, and like my alts, and I was keeping track of which person was holding which piece. And the fact that you pulled that off just got like enough of my attention to bring you onto the show, but that's really amazing. How long were you working on that last gear piece?
2 weeks.
Okay.
I wasn't running the heroics every day, but I would say most days I was doing 2 or 3.
Wow. That's amazing. Are you a completionist in other ways? Like, do you try to get like all the achievements of some kind or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll be hitting 50,000 achievement points this summer, and I like to fill those reputation bars.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the MMO things that I don't know if I love to do it, but I feel compelled to do it.
Right. Very nice.
When you say that, Chill, you're going to have to help me here. This is not something that I even pay attention to. So the 50,000 achievement points, like, I have no idea how much I have. Is that, like...
Yeah, because I'm not a completionist, I don't check often. I think I noticed the other day how many I had, but I can't remember the number.
I wish I could sign in while we're recording.
It wasn't 50,000 though.
So, Inquisitors, is that, like, can you tell me on a scale of noob to epic gamer what 50,000 achievement points
I think
means?
the total possible now is 80 or 90.
Oh, wow. So you're over half of the things in the game you've done.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of those are really hard to get, too. Do you remember any like really hard ones to get or really unusual ones to get?
I like doing the weirdo stuff.
Ooh, he likes doing the weirdo stuff.
Wait a minute. Like the nerf hurting achievements and like clicking all the lore objects in the game. I really enjoyed that one because I like traveling around and just sort of experiencing the worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember for like the first few years of the game, the achievement and the lore object and that codex, that whole mechanism was quite buggy, and it took them a long time to work out all the kinks on that one. But
and there are
it's amazing that you got it.
Some achievements you can only get on certain characters and certain factions, so you really kind of need to sort of spread it all around.
Yeah, right. You have to have vaults for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, I guess the most rare one that I have is, and I don't have the object myself, but it's the box it's the Zerka box thing that turns you into it disguises you as a box. There's an achievement for it, and I had an online friend who had one of those, and So I have the achievement, and I just gave the box right back. But it was pretty funny. Your character just turns into a box. It's like the rarest item in the game. It's a white. It's not even blue or purple or anything. It's just a white box, but it has some flavor text on it. And you click on it, and you become a box, and you get an achievement if you haven't done it before.
Isn't that going for like 1 billion credits on the GTN?
Yes, and it really is like the most rare item in the game, just as in terms of drops at least. Because it's about a 1 in a billion chance to drop. It's amazing that it happens at all, that sort of thing. It's crazy rare. It's crazy rare.
You know, that's a really good segue, though, because you say things like that and it sounds nearly impossible, but there are people that really believe they have a shot at it.
Mm.
Like just that 1 in, did you say million or billion?
Apparently billion, and it's incredibly rare.
Wow.
I mean, only the fact that there's, so many people playing and you get so many drops. If it wasn't for that, it would just never drop at all. But everyone's a little lottery ticket, essentially, because I'm pretty sure it can drop from almost anything in the game.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little lottery ticket. Oh, jeez. Okay, so I want to bring us back to the OotiniCast poll really quick.
Okay.
And the votes are still coming in. I'm watching the bars move on my screen.
That's cool.
But the question was, how much do I estimate I spend per year on SWTOR surprise mechanics, the cartel market packs, in parentheses, just to clarify. So I didn't really mean to ask about direct purchases. So if you buy your die modules this way, or your weapons or your gear, but you know exactly what you're paying and it's 3,000 cartel coins, but the exact thing you wanted is now in your Toons inventory, that's not really what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. If you already answered and you were factoring that into what you spend, I think that's completely fine. These polls are casual. It's not for any research or anything beyond talking about it on our podcast. But the options here, I just decided per year, right? So under $100. So that's about 2 to 3 hyper crates, I think, based on how the conversion works. 100 to 250. So now we're talking about buying 6 or 7. $250 to $500 per year, and this is U.S. American currency for our international listeners. 250 to 500. So now we're talking 10, 11, 12 packs per year. The 500 plus are people that maybe do one every bi-weekly payday, or maybe factor an average of more than 1 hyper crate per month. Mm-hmm. And it's just a fun way to supplement their Toon style or get some extra decos, or you actually are banking on getting some extra things you don't want to use for yourself, but people will buy them off the cartel market the GTN starting in 48 hours from now. And so what we're seeing is actually 11% of the votes are the 500 plus.
Wow.
61% of the votes are the under 100. Mm-hmm. And so then we have 11 and 17% for the 2 in the middle. So we have a very interesting curve being established where you would expect the peak to be the lowest number. For example, with lottery and scratch-offs, the most bought tickets are the ones that are in between $10 and $20. And then so the other ends of the spectrum, the very expensive ones and the low cost ones, less people buy, or they buy but in lower volume.
Okay.
So you have sort of that here, except the lower investment is far and away the highest. But if we want to use the whale term, like the people who really invest and they kind of have that financial status as driving the earnings of the game themselves, because they're invested that much, I would say 11% is really high for people that are invested that much. So I think what I'm getting at is all of these are for cosmetic things, or additional things that make the look of the game and the feel of the game different, but they don't make you more powerful. They
Right.
don't make it so you can win harder difficulty operations. So that's a really key thing, and I think a lot of game companies are already going in this direction, because pay to win has become more of a naughty word in gaming than loot boxes have become. So this is probably going to be an ongoing conversation, because I end up speaking on both sides of our issue about this, both to the healthcare professionals who don't play video games at all, also to our podcast and our listeners, and people who raid with me probably occasionally hear me talk too much about this stuff. So that's where we're at on the voting. So I want to open it up before we move to the news. Intisar, Chill, anything that you're thinking about, either the way you play or any surprises in the way the votes are going?
Yeah, 11% is still a pretty high amount. It feels to me. I mean, I'm definitely, as far as my personal, I'm under 100. Although I probably go over 100 because I spend cartel coins, for packs that we send out to, for the tip of the week prizes and stuff like that. So, because I'm also doing the podcast, it probably cranks it over 100 per year for sure. But personally, it's under 100, at least in terms of loot boxes. But there are, people who would rather just buy direct items, and there's some of those are very expensive. I mean, there's some 1,500 cartel coin items on the market. There's some ones that are even higher. If you want to unlock character slots, those are not cheap at all. Server mergers were cheap, but no longer are. So there's a lot of ways to spend a pretty good amount of money without actually using the loot box system at all. So
yeah.
But I think 11% is interesting, because that feels like to me at least, who doesn't really buy hypercrates pretty much at all. That feels like a lot of hypercrate opening, and it sounds like fun. But I mean, I used to watch Kranatoko, open his boxes on YouTube all the time. And that sort of was good enough for me.
Did he have any videos that showed a spectacular return rate?
Oh yeah, he had a few like that.
He had a few.
Yeah, he had a few where he got like 2 of the most rare items in it. Yeah, stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a video that I use in one of my professional presentations where a SWTOR player won 2 platinum weapons on consecutive pack openings.
Oh wow.
So it's like 8 or 9 minutes into the video, and just the surge of positive, irrational talk coming out of him about how lucky today is really my point in a conversation like that, is that it is true the odds didn't hold there. You just won 2 incredibly rare items in a row. But the way you have continued to talk about it is not how statistics and probability work.
Right.
And so that's really the point. And there's some really neat comments on Twitter as people replying as well. There's a lot of people who want the different size bundles, not just the 1 crate or the 40. They would like to see different size bundles that are different coin amounts. That maybe the hyper crate just prices people out, that they would spend money on 20 packs, but going up to the 38 or 40 packs or whatever it ends up being.
If it was a little of a break from the 1 pack price of 200 per pack.
Yeah, a little bit moderation there might help the sale of packs.
They used to do the super crates, which had 5 or 6 packs in them.
Yeah, did those go away?
Yeah, I used to spend my monthly grant on those every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I've never bought a hyper crate with cartel coins. That's just, I spend my cartel coins too quickly for that to ever happen. But,
what do you spend them on then?
Unlocks, and now that they're doing direct sales, there's usually something every month that I grab off the market, whether it's some decorations or maybe like the deal of the day. It's like, oh, that's a cool armor set. But I bought, back when you could get a hypercrate for 4 million credits, I bought a couple. But I was not super satisfied by the experience. Like,
Right.
it gets pretty monotonous after a while. It's like, oh, another bronze item, another bronze item. And I never really got what I wanted. And I felt like it's just better to buy what you want directly from the GTN or now from the cartel market.
Yeah, and in a way that I feel like that too, and it's kind of too bad because it's true. Like if you end up feeling like that, then you're never going to open the pack, and you're never going to have the fun of if you find that fun, and I do, but I don't. That's how I feel about it too. Is like I feel like the odds for me of getting something that I think is really spectacular is low enough that I'd rather just buy it directly. Having said that, if I'm on a character who is at 300 and occasionally gets a chance cube, I'm happy to open the chance cube rather than, sell it. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's a way that BioWare has taken a paid mechanic but brought it into the game and integrated it into a not currency invoking mechanic.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I just think it's so cool that they do that in the different ways they've decided to. It helps the feel of the game for me. The absence of a win, like that big emotional memory win, is actually a key determinant between people getting hooked on something like this versus people sitting on a podcast and grumpily talking about how it never worked out for them.
Makes sense.
I get asked that question a lot.
Right, and I've heard that before, and I didn't know if it was true or not, but I've heard like people who go, and this wouldn't be video game related, but people who like go to a casino when they're really young, maybe when they're 21, for the first time, they go to Vegas, and then if they happen to hit it big, they're much more likely to actually become gambling addicted. I didn't know if that was actually true or not. It's just something I heard, but apparently it is.
It is, and I actually have a SWTOR story, and it's like, oh, poor Doc, but let's just go there a few seconds here. I really tried to get my Gamorrean companion last time. I remember the Nightlife event. Mm-hmm. I never got it, and I haven't gone to Nar Shaddaa since it opened up. I see the tweets, I know it's there, but...
Right. Well, the Gamorrean Guard this time you can actually buy now with the tokens. So you can, if you have enough of them from last year, you can just go grab one. However, if you want the Rhodian...
Well, right. See, that's the thing is I really just don't... The spiritual side of me literally does not believe I'm going to win the Rhodian. And so I keep playing Ops because I believe those bosses will die.
Right. And that you can and that you have the chance of getting something cool from them.
Yeah, but I think both of you have really, it's really neat for me to hear you talk about some of the things I've been wondering about, because whenever I think about this stuff, it's all skewed and kind of different. But both of you shared really relatable experiences with how the game works, and I hope our audience sees a little bit of themselves in that. I think that's the reason we do these mind traps. So with that, let's move along, Chill.
All right, let's bring us to the holo feed. We'll go over the news. There was a little bit of extra detail about the upcoming San Diego Community Cantina. The question was, will there be a reservation system like they did for Celebration, or will it be a just show up? And Eric wrote back, there will be a celebration registration like Celebration, and that will be the case for events going forward. So that's just going to be how they do it. So you don't even have to ask the question anymore in the future. If there's going to be a cantina, then yeah, it's going to have a registration. However, they did say they're in process of getting it set up, but also you can always just register on arrival. So you can just register when you show up. However, I would say it's probably better to register ahead of time. Helps them plan, and I don't know if they, if things get full, how they would set it up, but I'm sure being on the registration list wouldn't hurt in that case. There was someone asking if there's going to be the old class skills returning in the new expansion. I think this would be like the thing where, like, some like the gunslingers still have the flyover, but the others don't. The scoundrels don't. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he said, "I will double check, but I don't believe that is part of the plan. I do know it was discussed as something we would look into as an option, but no plans currently. So if that changes, we'll let you know. But as of right now, yeah, no plans to bring some of those back." I'm going to skip that one. We're just going to go to the upcoming free-to-play and preferred changes. And SWTOR actually did a pretty good video on this a few days ago as well. They free-to-play, preferred, and subscription, once they set it up, it hasn't changed all that much over time. But they are going to change it now. So that's in ways that I feel are pretty good, but we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, there's basically, just so that everyone's on the same page, there are 3 different levels if you play SWTOR. You don't have to pay any money. And you are therefore free to play. Those are players that have not spent any money, but they have access to the original storyline of the game. Preferred players are either players who used to subscribe but currently haven't, or they have at some point spent money on the cartel market. So you don't even have to subscribe. As long as you spend a little bit of money on SWTOR, you will become preferred. And it opens up certain extra things. We're not going to go into all the changes of those. There are good videos on that out there as well. And then subscription are players who currently subscribe and pay a monthly amount to have all the access. So now that we have those terms down, then they were looking at some of the at the upcoming expansion and so on, and they decided to make some changes. Increase credit cap. That's surprisingly hard to say, a little tongue twister.
Credit cap.
Exactly. Well and gone are the days where you could buy a gallon of Bantha milk for 5 credits. Initially, when we developed our free-to-play and preferred models, a cap of 200,000 and 350,000 credits, respectively, seemed like a fair amount. That's for free and preferred. Over the years, it's become a simple truth that those credit amounts don't buy what it used to. As our game has grown, so has the economy. Taking this into account, they are raising the credit cap of free-to-play and preferred members to 1 million credits. So free-to-play and preferred members will be 1 million credits. And by the way, this is not coming for Onslaught, even though they mention Onslaught. These changes are coming in July in 5.10.4, which I don't know if we have an exact date on quite yet, but it'll be coming later this month. Extra Quick Bar. Quick Bars are another feature that have been limited between the various account types. Currently, subscribers have 6, preferred have 4, and free-to-play have 2. When the system was initially designed, only 4 at most were available. Keeping this in mind, we'll be adding an additional quick bar for both preferred and free-to-play accounts. So that increases the number to 5 and 3, respectively. With this addition, players will be able to have more abilities, mounts, and mini-pets available to them for immediate use. So there you go. And I think they didn't really go into why they, kept them so limited, but obviously they wanted people to subscribe, and I think at the time they wanted to really make a differentiation between the people who were subscribed and the people who weren't. And yeah, and if you were especially free to play and you only had 2 quick bars, that's not a lot. Right. 3 is going to make a big difference in your life if you are playing SWTOR free to play, for sure. 100%. 5 is actually pretty good too. In fact, it's really more than I use. I have basically 3 that are completely filled and then a 4th on the side. I don't really use the 5th and 6th. I could, but I don't. So if you get up to 5 and especially the 3 for free to play, it's going to be a nice bump. And Medical Probe and Quick Travel. Medical Probe is the thing where instead of having to travel back to some robot, or droid, a million miles away from where you died, you can instead res in place. Quick Travel is that wonderful thing, which I hope we all know what it is, where you basically just quick travel somewhere else on the map. Medical Probes and quick travel were both restricted. Both of these features have been primarily available to subscribers, while preferred and free-to-play players could only obtain consumable versions via the cartel market. Both of these features are being removed from the cartel market, and every player will be able to revive or quick travel where applicable. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. And I think this is something that will actually make a big life difference for people who are just trying out the game. And I think it'll also give a bit of a closer representation of what it's like to actually subscribe, because if you're subscribed, you know, it really does make a difference whether you can res in place, and quick travel is incredibly useful as well, and a huge time saver. I remember the days when it first launched and there was like a 30-minute cooldown on quick travel, and it slows you down a lot. So having it available all the time is going to be wonderful. And yeah, so I mean, the idea of those different levels was always to eventually, you know, if people like the game, to eventually have them subscribe. Hopefully this just gets more people to try. And I think it's probably a good idea. It might even, you know, it might have even been done before now, and that might have been better, but at least they're doing it now, and I think it will help people, you know, sort of rediscover the game, or just discover the game. I'm sure there's still tons of people who, you know, have played MMOs, like Star Wars, but haven't played Star Wars: The Old Republic, and, you know, and now if they're going to be trying it for the first time while they're free to play, the experience is going to be a lot smoother for them, a lot easier to play, and it'll also feel a lot more like how subscribers play as well. They just won't be able to, you know, go past free-to-play players won't be able to go past the class story and so on. I think they can do McKeb technically still. I think that actually got unlocked at some point. But anyway, I think this is a good idea generally.
What kinds of play, like what kinds of activities are still gated behind subscriber status? Is it just operations?
Yeah, well, it's not just operations. Ranked arenas, and I think war zones. You have a very limited amount if you're preferred and free to play. Like I think you can do a couple per week or something like that, and that's it. Like you can do a few war zones, but not very many. Okay. And then that becomes just completely unlimited if you're a subscriber. So it does make a huge difference there. And then of course, free to play, you can only go so far in the story. It's the class story, and I'm pretty sure McKeb got unlocked at some point for free to play, but I could be wrong. And then if you're preferred and you were a subscriber, then you get gated up to wherever you stopped when you subscribed. So what you can do is you can just subscribe for a month. If you want to, stop the subscription, and your account will actually still be unlocked all the way through whatever the most recent content is when you subscribe. Now, if anything else comes out, like if you did it right now, you would have access to, you know, OSIS and stuff like that. And then if you stopped, you would still have access to OSIS, but you would not have access to Onslaught and stuff like that when that comes out. So
maybe wait until September.
Maybe so. It's not a bad way. Not a bad way to go.
I mean, if you can only subscribe for 1 month,
right?
It's
up at that point.
Exactly.
I will say I think these changes are good because SWTOR's free-to-play model has a really bad reputation outside of the community. Mm-hmm. Like, if you look at YouTube comments and stuff like that, people think it's terrible. And right. I think it's not that bad, to be honest. But, you know, throwing in some extra perks helps.
Yeah, I think the problem is that people are, like, in their mind, as soon as they hear free-to-play, they think of other free-to-play models where it's just, you know, the whole game is open, it's free-to-play, and then they try to make money with, you know, with other ways, you know, which, you know, SWTOR does in the cartel market and so on. Yeah. But SWTOR is still kind of straddling that, you know, that line between subscriber and free-to-play. They still do want people to subscribe. So, yeah. So they've never made it...
want to subscribe, you know.
Yeah, so they've never made it a free-to-play system the way that, you know, like some MMOs that start from the ground up as a free-to-play MMO might do it. It's just not. Yeah. It's just not that set up. Yeah, they sunk a lot of money into, you know, making SWTOR, and they really wanted the subscription thing to work, and it still does work for the core players. It really does.
These changes make an incredible adjustment, though, to the things that you immediately notice that are not great. Mm. If you're a free-to-play player. So
yeah, I mean, if someone's like trying SWTOR for the first time and it's right now versus when this drops later in July, it actually could potentially make a difference between whether they like the game or not, because yeah, having to run back after you die and stuff like that is really is really a drag.
Well, don't die, chill.
But I've only got two bars.
Oh man, you didn't put the defensive cooldowns on your 24 spaces.
That's right. Had to have random pet out.
Oh man,
You made the right choice.
That's right. All right. Well, anyway, that's coming out later in July. So yeah, if you're listening and you're thinking of trying SWTOR or coming back to SWTOR, it'll be a little bit easier for you to play, which is pretty cool. Now, speaking of Onslaught, they did come out with some of the set bonuses, tacticals, and new abilities coming out for Onslaught. They did Inquisitor, Sorcerer, Assassin, and then they did Marauder and Warrior. They haven't done Juggernaut for some reason. I don't know why they didn't do them all at the same time like they did the Inquisitor ones, but whatever. It's all good. So we can kind of go over this. We don't want to necessarily just read it, like a script, but we'll kind of hit some
info, people.
Yeah, there's a lot of info. I mean, it is available on the forums and so on, but we'll hit some of the high spots here. The Inquisitors. So there are going to be ones where it's just for the Inquisitors, and then there's specific ones for Assassins and Sorcerers.
Yeah, and each spec seems to be represented in the list as well.
Yeah, they definitely did think about that for sure too. And it's interesting how there's some that are specific to the base class at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still abilities that cover both people, so both classes. So why not? Decelerate Force Slow has 2 charges, and if using Force Slow on an enemy already under the effect of Force Slow, slows them by an additional 20% and extends the duration. Pretty cool. Gyre, the cooldown of Whirlwind is reduced by 10 seconds. Also, killing any enemy before Whirlwind ends resets the cooldown on Whirlwind. Okay. Seething Power. Overload increases your damage reduction by 10% for 10 seconds, and then getting attacked during this time causes your next force attack to critically hit. The effect can occur once every 10 seconds. That sounds interesting for like PvP. I mean, usually you don't really do overload things in PvE because too many things are immune to knockbacks in operations, or it just causes problems.
You should only use that if your team has lots of melee teammates on it, so you can ruin their distance to target.
Exactly. In operations.
But I need my damage reduction.
Exactly. They're either immune or you're just screwing everyone's positioning up. Powered Electrocute. Electrocute stun lasts an additional 2 seconds. That's a long time, especially in PvP. So yeah, I could see that being really good in PvP actually. And of course that's another, because it's CC oriented, that's another PvP thing for the most part. And let's see. Assassins have a new ability, Severing Slash. Strikes target in a cone, dealing weapon damage and slowing their movement speed by 50% for 3 seconds with a 12-second cooldown. Sounds good.
Like that, I really struggle with understanding what it means. Okay.
Right. So
12-second cooldown. Well, maybe
okay. So Severing Slash has a 12-second cooldown. You're right. It's a conical attack, and it deals weapon damage and slows movement speed by 50%. It doesn't mention whether it's targeted or whether it just kind of goes out in front of you. It's hard to tell without them saying one way or the other. But either way, AoE is kind of cool, because sometimes for the melee classes especially, like Assassins, AoE is a little thin on the ground. Like usually there's one's kind of spammable, semi-weak ability, and then there's maybe 1 or 2 other abilities that have pretty long cooldowns. So having another one is actually probably a good idea.
Wait, Intisar, what do you play? Do you play any of these classes that we're discussing?
I play a Sorc and Sage Healer mainly.
Okay. We're getting to those pretty soon.
So this affects you. Do you see anything in... I mean, I know we're talking about Assassin the last 45 seconds, but do you see anything in this list that you're excited about as a Sorcerer Sage player?
There's the tactical that adds an extra jump to Wandering Mend. Wandering Mend's a great AoE heal. It's actually I think the Sage is best AoE heal.
Yeah.
But the other thing, as a single target heal, that means it gets an extra jump on the tank. So instead of jumping on the tank twice, it'll now jump 3 times. So that increases the efficiency of the spell by 50%.
I see.
I think that's a pretty big boost to it.
So basically you try to jump it between 2 tanks, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess they call it a smart heal, so it's going to jump to whoever's taking the most damage or has the lowest percentage of health.
Right.
And usually that's the tank, so if you cast it on the tank, it'll jump to the tank, and then somebody else.
Back to the tank.
Yeah.
And then back to the tank. Oh, cool. Okay. That is nice.
You have to cast Resurgence first.
Yes. That is
Yes.
the only way you should be casting Wandering Amend.
Right, so if you're listening to this, we're not just helping you think about moves you will have in the future, but about how you should use them in the present.
Okay. Let's see. Set bonuses for assassins. These are the 4 or 6 piece bonuses rather than, like 2 piece bonuses. Smaller set piece bonuses will be more passive in nature, like stat benefits. Death Knell. Killing an enemy during Overcharged Saber refreshes the duration of it, and it can occur up to 5 times during one Overcharged Saber. So if you want to, say, kill every single person in a sand person village, that's how you do it. So if you want to go full Anakin, you can do that with Death Knell. Shadowcraft. Using Phantom Stride from stealth grants a charge of Shadowcraft during causing your next attack to critically hit. Pretty basic. We've seen stuff like that on set bonuses before, but okay. Deflecting slashes. Each target hit by severing slash extends deflection's duration by a second. And then, hang on, this got actually kind of oddly cut off. I'm sure.
Let's just hit enter, see what happens. Nope.
Let me add this here. Steely Spike. Using Spike grants you a 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds. Steely Spike, if you're a DPS, you can only use it from stealth. I guess that would still be potentially useful in PvP, but I see that more as being a tank thing because tanks have a utility. Well, this is for assassin tanks. You can use it out of stealth, so I can see that being pretty good because for tanks that therefore becomes a 6-second 20% damage reduction cooldown that you can use. Pretty short cooldown. I think it's like a 30-second cooldown. I think it's one like that. I can't remember 100%, but yeah, that seems pretty useful for tanks especially. And especially if and since a lot of these also tend to feel better for like PvP or just general DPS, it's kind of cool that there's one that's like really good for tanks and especially like operation tanks. Let's see. Assassin, and then that was actually not a tactical item, but I put that under the tactical items. Okay, we'll worry about that later. Tactical items. Assassin. General Assassin 1, Shroud and Guard. Force Shroud also applies to any ally you are guarding. That's very cool. This is one that Eric mentioned a couple of different places, including the stream that they did a few weeks back. The idea that your Force Shroud applies to any ally you're guarding is very cool. Reckless Shadow. Recklessness increases your Force regen greatly for a short time. I don't know if Force regeneration is a problem for that for certain assassin specs, but if it is, that should help it a lot. Multi-Trap. Mind Trap can now affect up to 2 targets at once. So you can... That sounds actually very powerful in war zones. Because Mind Trap... Yeah, Mind Trap is your sapping ability. If you play World of Warcraft, that's the phrase you'd probably use. It's the one that... It's out of combat, and it puts them in an 8-second stun in PvP.
So now you have to leave 3 people guarding nodes.
Potentially. I mean, that's really nasty. That actually sounds like if you're... I'm not sure how well it would work in arenas, in like ranked arenas. I mean, if you can catch them out of combat, it's great. So, but in regular war zones, it's going to be spectacular. So, Shadow Steps. Phantom Stride now has 2 ability charges. Okay, well, Phantom Stride is cool. It's that one that lets you get to targets real fast. Let's see, darkness. So specifically to darkness, Shadow Shroud. Using Force Shroud while Dark Ward is active consumes it, but extends the duration of Force Shroud by 1/4 of a second for each Dark Ward stack consumed. I believe that's the 3-stack ability that you get in Darkness, which is the tank one. I'd have to. I don't know enough about the spec to know whether that one's good. Shadow Ward, Dark Ward gains 5 additional stacks, and Phantom Stride resets its cooldown. Okay, that's cool. Redirected Wrath. Wither generates redirected Wrath stacks per enemy it hits, increasing your damage reduction by 2.5% per stack for 10 seconds. Yeah, I mean, these are a lot of these you'd have to kind of figure it out, or they might even be kind of like fight specific. Redirected Wrath sounds like it'd be good for bosses where there's lots of targets, because it's per enemy it hits. So if you're, you might have that one for a boss where lots of critters are going to be coming out, and then you swap it out for something else for a different boss. And Deception. Discharging Voltage. Severing Slash causes your next discharge to arc to multiple targets. More AoE sounds like fun. Burning Bolts. When Reaping Strike hits, it causes this target to burn. Doesn't say how much damage it is, but I assume that's a damage and not one something else. High Voltage. Using Voltaic Slash and Lacerate with 2 stacks of voltage. Deals additional damage and finishes the cooldown of Ball Lightning. Wow, okay. I have no idea if that's going to be good or not. Some of these are like, unless you know the spec in and out, there's no way to tell if it's going to be useful, semi-useful, or hard to use, or if it's going to change your rotation up maybe. Some of them might change your rotation.
I'm definitely expecting some rotation changes to be part of the aftermath of a lot of this. Mm-hmm. And actually, there's some points being made in our Twitch chat that certain things about the assassin tank is going to be really interestingly changed, maybe even broken. So the way we think about the game is definitely going to be switching around when you get into that really top level game crafting, philosophy building kinds of stuff.
Yeah, which is cool, and I definitely think it's interesting that we're going to be at a point again where, especially if you're doing operations with different bosses, and therefore you're going to need different tacticals, and who knows, maybe different set bonuses instead as well. But also depending on like what you're doing, like are you just doing solo missions? Maybe you want something that has tons of AoE, to just burn through the different areas quickly, and then you have, or if you're doing PV. Like regular war zones or arenas, you might have different sets and tacticals for those as well, and you might actually need to have different armor right now, because right now it's, for the most part, I mean,
you just get the gear.
You pretty much get the gear that you get.
There's really one option.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why they're talking about the horizontal versus the vertical. We have very much vertical right now. The set bonuses stay the same. You only get more stats, and the horizontal means, well, it's going to also mean you're going to need to keep some bag space open. So let's see. Hatred. This is like the AoE and sort of, it's like the Smashy spec, or it's not Smash. But it's like the AoE and dot spec, I think. Hungering Blade, critically hitting with Leeching Strike, resets its cooldown and increases the crit chance of the next Leeching Strike. Stacks up to 3 times. Okay. Exhaustion Field. Death Field does 10% more damage to all targets. Additional damage to Force slowed targets, and it spread Force slows effects. I love things that spread dots and spread effects. I love that's always cool to me. Thrashing Terror. Creeping Terror has a 10% chance to tick an additional time whenever Thrash deals damage. Except Thrash is like the basic ability, so I'm not sure how exciting that would be for me, but whatever. Maybe I just don't know enough about the Hatred spec. And as a note, if you are a Jedi Shadow player, you can expect to see these set bonuses mirrored for you as well. They are in the process.
Isn't that so cool that they just proved that talking about the Imperial side is the default way to talk about this game?
Yes. All right. We'll talk about the Sorcerer, since we're already still working through these, but let's hold off on the Warrior and Marauder for next time. we're running a little short on time, especially for Doc here. So let's get on to the Sorks. Let's see. All right. So new ability for Sorks is Volt Rush. Deals energy damage to your target and energizes you for up to 5 seconds. The energize effect can stack twice, with each stack increasing Volt Rush damage by 30%. The ability has 3 charges and a recharge timer of 10 seconds. So it sounds like an ability that at least during part of your rotation you're going to need to be using quite a bit.
Yep.
Because it's only lasting 5 seconds and yet it's going to stack, stack twice and only have 3 charges. So you're going to need to use those charges, and then you're going to need to do other things, and then you'll need to come back to Volt Rush. So,
yep. So that's definitely going to get inserted into the rotation somewhere that makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be fun to figure that out.
Right. Yeah.
And someone will post
and also how bursty is it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be more bursty as you get more stacks. So is it really bursty, or is it is it really all about the ramp up, stuff like that. So yeah, figuring out exactly where that's going to go in a rotation is really going to change things. And I noticed that a lot of the set bonuses that they've set out, they tend, not always, but they do tend to sort of reference the new ability a fair bit. So they like to do set bonuses that involve the new ability. So, for example, set bonuses. Let's see. This would be energy. These would be general sorcerer ones, I believe, at this point. Yeah. Energize Overload. Overload energizes you. Volt Rush deals more damage when you're under the energize effect. So you can overload and then Volt Rush, apparently.
So many ads are not going to be inside the orbital strike because of this.
Maybe so. Let's see. And then tacticals for sorcerers. Dark Cleanse. Consuming darkness lowers the cooldown of Expunge by 3 seconds. That's kind of cool. It's
very useful for healers or people that pay attention to.
Yeah, is consuming darkness the self heal? Is that the self heal?
No, that's the regen for your force.
Oh, it's that
force points to come back.
Oh, okay. It gives you force points back, but under most circumstances, it slows your regen for a little bit, and then sometimes you can cleanse that or whatever.
If you're doing it right, you are always using Innervate to keep your stacks for instant cleansing without a penalty.
Right.
Not cleansing, the consumption to not cause the penalty. So, as a healer, you're really trying not to use consuming darkness unless you have those stacks built up.
Right. Okay, but if you do use it, then it'll lower the cooldown of Expunge by 3 seconds. I could see that being useful in certain boss fights where there's lots of debuffs, stuff like that.
Some of the old, like Dread Fortress especially, had a lot of cleansing.
Yes,
and if you do them now, you get the buff that gives you the old cleanse cooldown. So I think this means we're going to get some more cleansing fights, and you're going to need to use this tactical to keep up with the amount of cleansing you have to do.
Ooh,
cool.
You can't run with us because you have not earned your dark cleanse.
You have no dark cleanse, yeah. All right, Liberate Extrication now heals you and the target and makes your next resurgence free. That sounds like a pretty good deal, except for the fact that extricating tanks is not really a good option in operations.
They get
for instance.
Cranky, and we're just trying to save you.
Exactly, but if you're in a situation where you can extricate, that's a pretty good deal. You get a heal for both you and the target, and your next resurgence is free. That's pretty solid.
I'm going to be casting that on Marcus so much.
I'm sure he'll love it. Preserve Self, activating Unnatural Preservation. Oh, I think that's the self-heal, isn't it? Yeah, remove Static Bearer's deionize effect from you. Yeah, there you go.
That's really useful.
That's very cool. And Unnatural Preservation is a fairly short cooldown. It's like 25 or 30 seconds, right?
I don't think it's that long, is it?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's short, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that long, but this gives you the static barrier right back.
Yeah, you get to static barrier twice really fast. I can see that being really good in PvP as well. Dark Return, returning to your phase walk marker, causes a force explosion around you, dealing damage to any enemies around.
That's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be That sounds, yeah, exactly.
It'll be part of your damage
It sounds
strategy.
really hard to use properly, but if you can use it properly, it's going to be hilarious and amazing.
Well, you just drop it, do a force storm, get everything around you, and then just phase walk. Boom.
I guess so.
Like,
yeah.
you just drop it in the places where you can predict the ads are going to show up.
Right. Right.
It's so much fun. It's so much planning and strategy in some of these.
Yeah, I like that one. Corruption spec within Sorcerer. All for one, Revivification heals more for each ally it affects. And then one for all, Revivification heals more the fewer allies it affects. Again, having both possibilities is good for different bosses and operations and so forth.
I feel like one of those teaches you how to play wrong a little bit more than the other. Sorry. I should have kept that to myself.
Yes. Extra
that's
men.
not why I'm a podcaster.
Here's the one you want. Extra men, roaming men can now heal up 5 targets instead of 4, or in other words, heal the tank 3 times. That's pretty cool. Healing Volts, dealing an enemy with Volt Rush causes your ally closest to the enemy to be healed, scaling with how many energized stacks are on the enemy. Huh. Okay.
That one sounds really interesting to me.
That
It does.
encourages the healer to pay attention to damage dealing opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Healer DPS for the win.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what happened in my one op.
Lightning. I'm also kind of curious, like how good the heal will be, or even if like certain operations, maybe the DPS lightning sorks are asked to take this.
Well, that's a corruption tactical.
That's
right?
what. Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying is maybe a DPS sork is required. Would be asked to take it. It's like we need extra healing for the tank because this is a very tank intensive fight. Can you take healing volts, on your lightning sork?
I don't know. It's going to be really hard to talk me out of Death Channel.
Okay.
Like super hard.
Speaking of lightning, Death Channel, Fork Darkness now has a greater chance to activate, and Crushing Darkness deals more damage each time it ticks. Yeah, Fork Darkness, so more extra damage basically. Those are the secondary ticks and so on.
Everything about that tactical is a win. I love the name. I love what it does.
Death Channel, yeah, that's pretty
It's
sweet.
going to take me 29 months to earn it or whatever.
Maybe so.
It's going to be terrible.
Volt Flux, Volt Rush triggers Lightning Storm when activated. Chain Lightning spreads the Energize effect and causes your next Volt Rush to arc to nearby targets. Okay, so Volt basically turns Volt Flux into a whole AoE thing. It's pretty cool. Yeah, because the Energize effect means they'll take more damage, and then the Volt Rush arc to nearby targets means the Energize effect is useful. That's pretty cool. Convection Burst.
This one's really appealing to me too, by the way.
Yeah, while under Convection, activating Lightning Flash grants an additional Convection stack.
3 stacks gives you Thundering Blast.
Oh, okay. 3 Convection stacks allow Thundering Blast to be activated instantly, consuming all stack. So you have another instant cast.
Yeah.
There's the one that allows Thundering Blast to be cast on the move. There's a utility for that, right? Isn't that?
Well,
But now it'd be
Blast on
instant.
the move should be in your abilities. Yeah.
Right. But now you can also make it instant. That's pretty cool. And I wonder if that would happen often enough that you could then take off that utility and put it somewhere else.
Oh man, I didn't think about that.
Because if it's instant, you don't need to cast it on the move. But
Thundering Blast is one of those moves where you want it to be the one you're using every time it's available.
Right.
So having it line up in a way where it lights up, and if it still causes Chain Lightning to instantly cast also, then that's going to be really good for your rotation. So.
All right. Stormwatch. Lightning Flash applies Stormwatch to its targets. Anytime this target is crit hit in the next 10 seconds, a weaker Lightning Flash is applied to them.
This could be really
That's
good
clever.
because you have a lot of ways to guarantee critical hits early in the lightning rotation.
Right.
So you could cause a lot of extra lightning flashes to be happening if your cooldowns are over.
And it says anytime the target is critically hit. Does that include from allies?
I don't know.
Okay. It's hard to say.
We need an official
That would need to be
BioWare answer on that question.
Yeah, exactly. And they might change it. They may try. It may be including allies, and then they realize, oh, that's too powerful, and now it's only crit hit by the Sork, who actually cast it. We'll see. Let's see. Any of those strike you?
I want to hear what Inquisitors thinks, but I think I said what I feel about Death Channel and Convection first.
I don't know. My DPS spec is lightning, and I don't know enough about it to really understand what any of this stuff is going to do. Okay. It all sounds cool, so I don't even know where to start.
Right. That's fair enough. Yeah.
It really comes down to how cool is Volt Rush.
Like how much damage it does and stuff?
Well, also how it fits into what we're already doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because lightning is a priority system. So you want Lightning Blast, and you want Crushing Darkness, and you want Affliction on the enemy to add that additional stack and guarantee a critical from Lightning Blast. So whatever Volt Rush does it change any of that thinking, or does it fit right alongside and go like 1A is Thundering Blast and 1B is Volt Rush? Or is it more like in the Light Flash Chain Lightning category, where it's like your next level down? So that's what I'm thinking about. So I'm excited just to finish this era the next couple months, but I'm also really excited to have this extra side of our gearing. This
is going to be really interesting
yet, and I don't know what it's going to feel like or how long it will even take to earn one of these or find one of these.
Yep. And let's look at the madness real quick. Exhaustion field.
Oh, right, madness.
Yeah.
Sorry,
some people like
peeps.
It. Actually, I've tried madness on assassin and sorcerer, and I do prefer it as sorcerer with the extra range. I didn't like it as much as a close up spec, but whatever. It's all good. Exhaustion field. Death field does 10% more damage to all targets and spreads force slows effects. I'm always happy whenever effects get
when things spread. Yeah,
exactly. Ruthless Demolition. Demolish deals 20% more damage on initial hit. Additionally, under Polarity Shift, Demolish resets the cooldown of Force Leech and causes the next Force Leech to activate instantly. Okay.
That's a good thing for the Madness rotation. That's incredibly good.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you get Force Leech up when you cast Demolish with Polarity Shift, so every, 2 minutes for Polarity Shift, you get this incredible increase in move availability.
Okay.
So that could be a really good one to select.
Okay, cool. Writhing Terror. Creeping Terror has 10% chance to tick an additional time whenever Force Lightning deals damage. So if you like to spam your Force Lightning, that's a good one for you. Wrath Rushdown. When Force Lightning generates 4 stacks of Wrath, you gain Wrath Rush, allowing your next 3 Volt Rushes to deal 25% more damage and cost 50% less force. Volt Rush consumes all stack of Wrath.
I feel like Volt Rush should have a different name if you're Madness. It feels like a little bit of lightning crept in a... I don't know.
That's a very light. It feels very lightning-y, doesn't it?
Yeah. We have Wrath Rush right there.
Right.
That one also sounds really cool because
it does.
A part of what the Madness Sork tries to do is get those stacks from the Force Lightning, so that I think that Demolish is the move that becomes available on an instant cast. So you're also getting Volt Rush stuff going on in the midst of something you're already doing. So again, how does Volt Rush fit in with the general strategy for this Sorcerer spec?
Right. Okay, and of course, consulars will have similar abilities on the other side. Like I say, we're getting a little low on time, so we're gonna we'll hit the Warrior Marauder next time. Maybe Juggernaut will be out by then as well. We'll see. But they are in the show. I'll keep them in the show notes if you want to read them in the show notes. They are there. They're also on the forums on SWTOR.com. So we'll briefly go over SWTOR in-game events for July. The Nar Shaddaa Nightlife we have mentioned, it is out. It ends July 30th, beginning and ending at 1 a.m. GMT. So 1 a.m. July 30th, 2019 GMT. And yeah, good stuff. Cartel market certificates is pretty interesting. You can now earn the Gamorrean bodyguard instead of having to get it as the main jackpot. Instead, there is the Frojo Nure, who is the Rhodian companion. That's the main one this year. And yeah, the older mounts are still around. The Rancor, the Vectron Magnus is still there. The Kingpin's armor, the Nightlife Socialite, all that good stuff. Rakghoul Resurgence on Corellia. So Rakghoul will be here July 2nd, actually right now.
That's today.
Yes, today. Yeah, that actually makes sense because I went online briefly and I was on the fleet and I heard the Rakghoul announcer talking. July 2nd to the July 9th, and that's going to be on Corellia. So typical for that event. Bounty Contract Week will be July 16th through the 23rd. So there'll be kind of a week off, essentially, between those two. But the Bounty Contract Week will return July 16th, goes through the 23rd. And then finally, Pirate Incursion, July 30th to August 6th. So if you missed Pirate Incursion on its big opening 2-week version, there'll be a more usual 1-week version starting July 30th, which is right when the Nightlife event is ending. So there you go, Pirate Incursion. You only need to be level 20 or higher for Pirate Incursion, which I thought was kind of cool. You don't have to be endgame or anything like that. Let's see. And finally, force feedback. Yeah, we put down Intisar's tweet from a few hours ago. And
so much inventory.
Pretty cool. Let's see. Actually, and when Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. It's taken years, but I finally collected every piece of every legacy armor set. And then you have the link. Let me make the text a little more easy to read. There we go. And that is such a beautiful picture, man, of all the sets, and you lined them all up perfectly by all their name and by the piece. So all the wrist pieces are in a line, all the gloves are in a line, all the waists are in a line. It looks really cool.
I had a lot of time to prepare that.
Yeah, good quote too. I like a good historical quote.
It's the benefits of a classical education.
Dang right. Do you have anything along these lines that you're still working on, or that you might want to start working on now?
I need 2 more of the dark versus light bosses, and I kind of those are hit and miss though, and especially if there's a group forming to do them. But I'd like to finish off that achievement this summer.
Nice. All right. Anything else? I think, Doc, you're running low on time. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's true. If time on my health bar, I need some heals.
Yeah, I guess then we're going to have to call that a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @UtiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays at noon Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thanks to Intisar. It was nice having you on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. This was unexpected and a lot of fun.
Awesome. And we'll see you next show.
Later, everyone.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. And yeah, I'm going to get the editing done and all that good stuff, but we will see you later. All right. I'm going to stop the stream and the broadcast, but keep the Audacity rolling. Mm-hmm. And let me get the broadcast done too.